an advice for my fellow Venezuelan businessmen, quote unquote, and why you should improve your game in the near future. Today we discuss.
Welcome to Venezuela Insider, the only place in Venezuela for expats, digital nomads, entrepreneurs, investors, travelers, and related internationals. For more information, venezuelainsider.com.
Okay, today's video is for fellow Venezuelans, quote unquote, businessmen and entrepreneurs and one entrepreneurs. We have a lot of those. And by the way, Venezuelans are very resilient and entrepreneurial, but they have a lot to learn. They are very early on the learning curve regarding entrepreneurship. If you're watching this from the US or another Western nation, but let's focus on the US just for the sake of the conversation, and you see economy, and you see a bunch of successful entrepreneurs and investors and businessmen, people like Jeff Bezos and Elon Musk and Bill Gates and Steve Jobs, that kind of people. Okay. You know that those particular businessmen, of course, they are the richest men alive, something like that. And well, according to the Forbes list of billionaires, okay. But you see that the way that they became successful is because they provided a lot of value, created a particular, a particular value and a particular structure, a particular good and service that is right now very in demand today. Of course, you have Microsoft and Apple and Amazon and now Tesla and the other things that Elon does. Very good for them. And actually, that's the way. Of course, you have, it's a hierarchy, it's a pyramid, and you have people, I mean, these guys are 100 billion net worth, something like that. Well, except for Steve Jobs, because passed away, sadly, with his soul. Well, but you have people, I mean, making a few $1 million or a few tens of millions of dollars and that kind of thing. But basically, the mind of an entrepreneur is be disruptive, create something new, or probably not reinvent the wheel, but being more efficient on a particular structure that on conventional business, and reinvent themselves and do a lot of research and development and being creative. But also, entrepreneurship is a mess, it's a nightmare being an entrepreneur, a beautiful nightmare, but still a nightmare. And if you're an entrepreneur yourself, you already know this. Anyways, there's a particular skill set and mindset, of course. There's a lot of randomness involved in entrepreneurship, and many people are not going to make it, sadly, statistically. And that's why one of the recommendations for that successful entrepreneurs give you is being persistent and keep going, not give up, because probably you are going to have 10, 20, 100 failures before you have your first success. Well, sadly, that's not the mindset of most, not all, but most of Venezuelan entrepreneurs. Now, let's talk about which are the ones, the successful businessmen here in Venezuela and a lesser degree in Latin America. Usually are people that first, they inherit a bunch of assets or they are connected to the local government any particular given time, or they just are mediocre doing something regarding conventional businesses like grocery stores, supermarkets, things like that. So basically they are not inventing something new. They just, grind out and take care of everyday business, except for the ones close to the government. Anyway, okay, good for them. I mean, business as usual and that kind of thing. But something that most Venezuelan entrepreneurs and businessmen, and also on a lesser degree the rest of Latin American ones, what they do is they don't innovate as much, usually, basic things, basic transactions, and that's what that's what they think on their minds, their concept of a business is just basic transactions. Sadly, 99% of businessmen and entrepreneurs in Venezuela and in Latin America as well, they are basically resellers, and that's it. The only concept of a business that most Venezuelan businessmen and entrepreneurs they have is just reselling things, bringing things from China and resell it, or going to places within the country where things are a little bit cheaper, so doing geo arbitrage, regional geo arbitrage, domestic geo arbitrage, and that's it. It's just reselling and geo arbitrage, or offering just a basic service from the service industry. Having a restaurant, having a barber shop, having a nail salon, something like that. Something very, very basic. And or just applying a particular white collar concept, like having a medical practice or a dentist practice or a law practice, something like that. Basically, that's their whole concept of being a businessman and an entrepreneur. Well, being an entrepreneur is actually solving problems that don't have a solution at any given moment, maybe on your particular country, on your particular city, on your particular small town. And when you fix those problems that usually the bigger they are, the more lucrative they are if you found a way to solve it. Very good. And of course, I also have to say that doing business in Venezuela is harder than many parts of course, in developed nations and even in some parts in Latin America, but not as hard as you might think compared to the rest of Latin America. That's for another day. The main point is that, of course, you have a lot of bureaucracy. Also, you have a population, your clients, consumers base is impoverished, but their purchasing power is slightly increasing. Very good. And something that I have to explain that many people, because something also I have to say, this goes for my Venezuelans, my fellow Venezuelans actually, they don't understand is that, of course, the situation was dire when we had the particular collapse of the economy, an 80% GDP collapse. And of course, that brought a lot of pain and a very sharp decrease on standards of living for the average Venezuelan. Now, the issue is that we are start growing yet again since the collapse halted on 2018, but the economic growth started on 2020, 2021. And the issue is that my fellow Venezuelans confuse GDP growth, economic growth, with prosperity, because they think because the economy grew 10% on any given year, their particular well-being situation is going to increase 10% per year. And that's not the case. One of the terms used here in Venezuela, the economy, it's a very sarcastic term, the economy is fix itself. And it doesn't work like that. An economy doesn't fix itself like it's a used car or something like that. And anyways, what undermines is that we are in a very dire situation. And by the way, for most Venezuelans, it's like that. Still on a dire situation. Better than the 2017 situation. Right now, in 2024, we're on a way better situation regarding more offer of goods and services. Also, more, more of a bullish trend, more of a positive sentiment amongst certain Venezuelans, small businessmen and mid-sized businessmen. Okay. But most of the population still has a bearish sentiment with the Venezuelan economy. And by the way, I can totally understand why. But the Venezuelans think that the Venezuela is going to fix itself when either has an economy like the US, and the old US, I'm talking like 10 years ago US, not today's US after COVID. Or we have the economy that we had on the 70s here in Venezuela, that it was awesome. I mentioned that a bunch of times. I wasn't alive, by the way, but everything that I see and everything that the elder people tell me, it was awesome. So they think that the Venezuelan economy is going to fix itself when that happens, and that is not the case. Now, what does this particular growth and GDP growth of the Venezuelan economy, what does it mean for an entrepreneur or a businessman here in the country? Because first, the only thing that they think is reselling things. By the way, nothing against reselling and flipping things. Many Venezuelans do it and actually are quite good, by the way. But afterwards, you need innovation, you need applied ideas, of course, because not only the idea, you need the execution as well, and also take risk. And it's no way around it. It's not a safe way, a cookie cutter strategy in order to become an entrepreneur. It takes a lot of pain, a lot of trial and error. You have to endure a lot of terrible situations. Probably you have been there if you're an entrepreneur. I've been there, by the way, as well. And the lessons that I have is that being innovative, maybe applying something that is new or something that has not been applied on your particular country. I tried a couple times, and by the way, I lost money on that. But anyways, I mean, I still took a shot. It's what is known in economics as creative destruction, and it was it was a painful creative destruction for me. But I mean, already happened. I survived. The main point is, if you are a Venezuelan entrepreneur or a businessman and you only have this particular resale mindset, I suggest you to maybe reconsider that. And of course, if you're good doing resale, please continue that. But be more innovative, take more calculated risks. I mean, I'm not saying, sell your house for a business. No. Well, anyways, the point is that maybe look something that the average Venezuelan is not, or they're not able to see. And maybe if you apply it on your particular market, you might have something special. But of course, there's a lot of randomness on those concepts, and you have to do your particular marginal analysis, and maybe you will be able to create something special that's going to provide you success, of course, financial success, and prosperity for your family.
Thank you for watching Venezuela Insider. Please like, share, and subscribe. Follow us on social media. If you want to work with us, venezuelainsider.com. Thanks again, and have a nice day.